Our artisans, they need to do 4 years of training to be able to manufacture a Kelly bag. This that you've just seen, the perlage, you need to be very skilled and very, very good.
First time shopping at Hermès, and let me tell you how it went.
We got a lot of requests, do Hermès next. And that's why we're here in the Highland Park Mall.
Of Hermès products are made in China. Towels are from Furi in Shandong. They also make products for Chanel and IKEA. Beddings are from Yue in Shandong. Men's shoes are from Shachi in Shandong. Tableware are from Gaochun in Jiangsu.
Italy, made in China. Or maybe made in Chile. Oh yeah, that should be a thing, by the way, because some brands get real creative when it comes to made in.
Put the finishing touches on a Kelly, the most difficult bag to build. It starts with 30 distinct cuts of leather and can take 20 hours to complete, 4 hours for just the handle. There are no manuals or cheat sheets. Artisans rely on their training and muscle memory to make every bag.
So Hermès has put out a response to China, and they have like a video in a factory sort of showing people trying to show that they're actually the ones who are making the bags in a factory somewhere in France.
I've spent over $100,000 of my own money dissecting luxury bags, cutting them open, analyzing every stitch, every layer. Why? Because I had to know what made those bags so expensive.
Almost finished bags from China factories, back to their own factories, and just do the repackaging and logo installing, something like that.
Hermès is in full panic mode. The luxury giant just filed a massive lawsuit against the Chinese manufacturers who exposed their billion-dollar secret. For decades, Hermès has sold us a dream. The idea that every Birkin and Kelly bag was hand-stitched by a master artisan in a cozy French workshop, using the finest leather on earth. But recent leaks have thrown that fantasy into chaos. Hermès isn't battling counterfeiters this time. They're fighting a completely different threat: the truth. Chinese manufacturers, once working quietly behind the scenes, are now exposing a secret that could shake the entire luxury industry to its core. And once you hear what they revealed, you might never look at a luxury bag the same way again. Hermès didn't just sell handbags, they sold a fantasy. For years, their marketing painted a picture so vivid that it felt almost untouchable. Old-world French artisans, each spending years mastering a dying craft, hunched over fine leathers in charming Parisian ateliers, carefully stitching each Birkin and Kelly by hand. This wasn't just branding, it was storytelling so powerful that people didn't question the price tags. A Hermès bag wasn't just a bag, it was an heirloom, a symbol of patience, tradition, and unattainable exclusivity. The waiting lists, the personal shopping appointments, the hushed tones when people even mentioned scoring a Birkin, it all fed into the myth. And Hermès leaned into it hard. They weren't mass market like Louis Vuitton, and they certainly weren't flashy like Gucci. They were the old money of luxury fashion, tasteful, discreet, and authentic. Or at least, that's what we were all led to believe. Because behind the polished images, far away from the romanticized Parisian workshops, another reality was unfolding, a reality the brand desperately hoped would stay hidden. The cracks in Hermès' perfect facade didn't appear all at once. They started small, whispers in niche forums, rumors among insiders, but once the leaks began surfacing, it became impossible to ignore. Reports started trickling out that up to 80% of Hermès bags weren't actually crafted entirely in France. Instead, critical stages of production were happening thousands of miles away, in bustling provinces like Shandong and Jiangsu in China.
The Chinese supplier behind product. Bags are from Siton Handbag in Dongguan City, Guangdong Province. It's a factory specializing in handbags for 54 years, and it produces 80% of the world luxury bags.
He started making his boots in China, and that is these boots right here. This is pretty much the Ugg boot that like most Americans will have in their house. I was very pissed off when I found out the truth because I grew up in Southern California. I remember being in elementary school when I would only see 2 people in the entire school wearing Ugg boots, and they were always the cool surfer kids.
Those bags I cut open, just expensive, nothing special. But if you truly exceptional.
Thing is as humbling as your daughter drawing on your $60,000 Birkin. Am I right?
Yeah. I couldn't even be mad at her because when I asked her, I was like, I wanted to see if she was going to tell me the truth. I was like, Coach, did you draw on mommy's purse?
Literally spent $60,000 on this purse. Look what my daughter did to my purse.
Pretty much where I keep all my purses. This one here is really special. If my house was on fire, I would take this one out of all of them.
Unbox my latest Hermès bag with me. This is my first bag I got this year. I usually get one bag a year, and this is the one for this year. And I'm really excited about it.
You walk into Hermès and say, hey, I want to buy one of these. You know what they say to you? No, we don't have them. First of all, you have to be Hermès customers. You have to demonstrate that you like the brand. And then you can only buy one per year.
I've been speaking to this client here regarding selling her Birkin 30 Gris Ethane, if I'm not wrong. Gris Ethane is the color, and it's palladium hardware. The bag is in box fresh condition, but it's SUES stamp, which means it's a 2021 piece.
Kendall Jenner is wearing a fake Louis Vuitton fanny pack, and she didn't know it. I'm gonna give you 3 reasons why I know that this Louis Vuitton bag is fake.
This jewelry on my arm is real. Don't love me because of no diamonds. Take all this. This bracelet right here look real as a... This shit was $23 on Amazon.
Workers there weren't hastily putting together knockoffs. They were meticulously cutting leather, stitching panels, threading handles, the heart of the craftsmanship Hermès so proudly advertised. Then, almost complete bags were quietly shipped back to France, where minor finishing touches were added. A logo here, a hardware stamp there. That tiny bit of final assembly was enough for Hermès to slap on the golden phrase, "Made in France." Legally, it checked out. Ethically, that was a different story. For loyal customers who had saved for years, even decades, to own a pure French luxury piece, this wasn't just misleading, it felt like betrayal. And if you thought that was bad, just wait, because the next person to get involved would blow the entire thing wide open. If there's one person luxury brands probably wish had stayed off the internet, it's Tanner Leatherstein. Real name Volkan Yilmaz. Tanner isn't some angry customer or jealous competitor. He's a leather craftsman with years of experience, someone who genuinely understands the materials and techniques behind high-end goods. And what he started doing on TikTok quickly became every luxury brand's worst nightmare. Tanner's signature move? Buying expensive designer bags, slicing them open on camera, and breaking down exactly what's inside. No hype, no fancy lighting, no marketing fluff. Just brutal, honest truth. And when Tanner got his hands on Hermès bags, the findings were shocking, to say the least. He revealed that many of the so-called luxury pieces contained surprisingly cheap materials. Plastic-coated leathers, mass-produced linings, even hardware that wasn't solid gold, but gold-plated at best. Then came the numbers that hit like a gut punch. According to Tanner's analysis, a real-deal Birkin bag, which can retail for anywhere between $14,000 and $38,000, costs around $600 to produce, even when using genuine leather and metal components. That kind of markup isn't just aggressive, it's astronomical. And while some luxury pricing is always about branding, Tanner's videos expose something deeper. The actual craftsmanship wasn't even living up to the myth. But believe it or not, things were about to get even messier. Because it wasn't just one leather expert calling out the industry. The very factories Hermès worked with were about to spill secrets no one could ignore. Just when it seemed like Tanner's revelations couldn't be topped, the real shockwave hit. Chinese factories, ones that weren't bootleg operations but officially contracted manufacturers for Hermès, started leaking hard evidence. These weren't anonymous Reddit posts or sketchy rumors. These were real documents, receipts, production logs, cold, undeniable proof that much of Hermès' prized craftsmanship was happening in industrial Chinese facilities, not quaint French workshops. Workers from provinces like Shandong and Jiangsu stepped forward, revealing that they weren't making counterfeits. They were assembling real Hermès products under real contracts, using Hermès-supplied materials and designs. In some cases, these workers even showed detailed instructions sent directly from France, outlining how the bags should be made to meet Hermès standards. It was an absolute truth bomb, and it left no room for doubt. Hermès wasn't just outsourcing minor tasks, they were outsourcing the heart of the product itself. The artisanal magic that justified the 5-figure price tags, A huge chunk of it was happening inside massive factories halfway across the world. And when this evidence started circulating online, Hermes had a choice: own up to it or fight back hard. Unsurprisingly, they chose the second option, and what they did next only made them look worse. Faced with mounting evidence and growing outrage, Hermes didn't issue a heartfelt apology or even a slick PR statement to smooth things over. Instead, they came out swinging. Hermes filed lawsuits against the Chinese manufacturers who had leaked the documents, accusing them of intellectual property theft and defamation. On paper, it sounded like Hermes was defending their brand integrity, but to anyone paying attention, it looked a lot more like damage control. They weren't trying to disprove the allegations, they were trying to silence them. Instead of addressing why bags supposedly handmade in France were being stitched together in Chinese factories, Hermes went on the offensive, painting themselves as the victim. But the timing and aggression of their response only fueled more speculation. Critics began asking the uncomfortable questions. If Hermes truly had nothing to hide, why not just open their doors and prove their craftsmanship was legit? Why go after whistleblowers with expensive lawsuits instead of offering transparency? The answer, it seemed, was obvious to anyone watching closely. Hermes wasn't trying to protect their production process, they were trying to protect the illusion. And once you realize that, it's impossible to unsee the cracks in not just Hermes, but the entire luxury fashion industry. As the Hermes scandal exploded, it quickly became clear that this wasn't just a Hermes problem, it was a luxury industry problem. Brands like Chanel, Prada, and Louis Vuitton, the so-called titans of high-end fashion, were caught in the crossfire too. Investigations revealed that up to 98% of their production was happening not in Italy or France, but in China, and often in the very same factories used by mainstream brands selling bags for a fraction of the price. It turned out that the beautiful phrase, "made in Italy" or "made in France," didn't mean what most people thought. Thanks to legal loopholes, as long as a few final touches, like sewing on a button or stamping a logo, happened on European soil, brands could legally claim European origin. Meanwhile, the majority of cutting, stitching, and even assembling was outsourced across the globe. And Guangdong province wasn't just churning out cheap knockoffs, it had quietly become the luxury manufacturing capital of the world, producing some of the finest leather goods on the market. In fact, Guangdong alone was responsible for around 80% of the world's luxury bag production. For years, customers clutched their $1,000 bags, believing they held a piece of Paris or Milan in their hands, when in reality, they were holding something born on a factory floor thousands of miles away. And the worst part? Most brands were perfectly happy letting the myth live on, as long as the cash kept pouring in. The internet doesn't forget, and once the truth about Hermes and the broader luxury world leaked out, the backlash was brutal. Suddenly, the prestige attached to owning a Birkin or a Chanel flap started to fade. People who had spent years on waiting lists or shelled out tens of thousands of dollars were realizing they hadn't bought artisanal masterpieces. They had bought mass-produced goods wrapped in a French fantasy, and the market responded fast. Resale prices for luxury bags, once seen as rock-solid investments, started to tumble. Bags that used to command astronomical prices in the secondary market were now losing value, sometimes overnight. Viral moments only made things worse. One clip showed a woman casually letting her young daughter draw all over her $60,000 Birkin with a marker, almost mocking the idea that the bag was worth protecting. It was a moment that perfectly captured how absurd the luxury game had become. People were paying luxury prices for products that, in the cold light of day, weren't all that different from much cheaper alternatives. Meanwhile, videos from Tanner Leatherstein and other creators kept dissecting bag after bag, revealing cheap materials like PE-coated leather instead of genuine, untreated calfskin. Every clip, every angry TikTok chipped away at the myth, and once that perception of rarity and authenticity was gone, the luxury bubble started to deflate. Fast. The luxury world isn't what it seems, and Hermes is just the beginning. If you want the real stories brands don't want you to hear, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and stay tuned. We're just getting started.